Welcome to The Story Apothecary, a podcast filled with medicinal and healing stories. My name is Nana Timova, and I'm a storyteller and a pharmacist, and stories are medicines which I dispense. In this podcast, you will find my prescriptions of stories for the body, mind, heart and soul. So I invite you to join me as we enter the healing world of stories together. Very warm welcome into the Story Apothecary. It's been a while, it's been a few weeks. It feels so lovely to be recording a new episode. It's been a strange couple of months. It is finally spring, and there's blossoms and there's birds and the swallows are back, which is wonderful. I've spent the last year completing a prescribing course for the pharmacy work, which I do part-time, and the last couple of months were very intense with lots of exams. I'm very pleased to have passed all of them, and I'm hoping to close that particular chapter of studying, and that means it gives me some more free time to learn stories, tell stories. I was also in Scotland last week, mountaineering, drinking in the landscape and going up the mountains, which I really love. And it was so nice to go back after such a long time of not being able to go. In other exciting news, April, so last month, the Story Apothecary had its first year anniversary. I didn't quite manage to record a story for the event, but it feels so amazing to have been here a year of medicinal and healing stories. Really, really special. I also recorded some folklore for the month of May in Baba Yaga's calendar in Patreon, which if you're a Patreon and you subscribe to the Healing Tincture tier, then you'll have access to that. And I look forward to recording some more for June. Thank you so much to my existing Patreons who keep me going. For the last couple of months we have some new ones, which is so heartwarming, and it makes such a difference to get that email saying that you have a new Patreon, especially get the messages telling me how much they enjoy listening to the folklore and tracing back their roots. So thank you to Rebecca, to Ellen, to Diana, to Jess and to Mary for their support, which makes a world of difference and helps me to keep going and to learn and record more stories. So today's story was picked by my Patreons in a monthly poll where they vote for the next episode. So this story comes from Russia. There are many stories that come from Russia, and it is called the lime tree or the linden tree. The linden tree is one of my favourite trees. I have such happy memories of climbing this huge linden tree near where I lived when I was small. I would go all the way in its upinch branches, sit on the very external branch, and swing upside down, pretending that the branches were like plumage of a peacock. I was just used to pick the linden tree flowers, which would start blooming around late May, June, sometimes July, depending where you live. Dry them in the sunshine and make tea. It's one of my favourite types of tea to drink still to this day. You should drink of everything, and it does have some beneficial uses. It's a mild diuretic, and so it's beneficial for the kidneys. And it can promote relaxation, and so it's a good one to drink before bedtime. But you will be up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom. It's so floral and sweet. It's a really important tree in a lot of Slavic mythology too. It was considered a sacred tree, and in many Slavic countries it's called lipa. The linden tree, is a national emblem for the Czech Republic, Slovakia and Slovenia, and lipa gives the name traditional Slavic names of the month for June in Croatian and July in Polish. In Baltic mythology, there's an important goddess of fate by the name of Lima, whose sacred tree is the lime tree. Lima's dwelling was the lime tree, where she made her decisions as a cuckoo. And for this reason, it is thought the Lithuanian women prayed and gave sacrifices under the lime tree, asking for luck and fertility. And so they treated lime trees with respect and talked with them as if they were human beings, which I think is how all trees should be treated. It was also a symbolic tree in Germanic mythology in pre-Christian times, where local communities assembled to dance under a linden tree, but also hold judicial meetings there in order to restore justice and peace. And it was hoped that the tree would help unearth the truth. It is a beautiful tree with so much history and folklore, and it is about this tree that our story for today, called the lime tree or the linden tree, speaks of. In a certain Russian village, once upon a time there lived a poor cottager and his wife. It was just the two of them. They lived together for many, many years, with their clothes on their back and hardly any food in their tummies. Their little cottage was wretched. It was leaking. He had no horse, no donkey. A cow he or she never even dreamed of having, and they had no firewood to keep them warm. Winter came, cold and bitter winter. Snowflakes as big as your fists danced and fell down to cover the ground. It was cold, and their cottage was unwarmed, and they couldn't get to sleep. How much they shivered under the holes filled with blankets. But the only thing they heard was the blizzards outside and the rumbling of their empty bellies. What a winter it was! Snow to your shoulders, winds that would take you flying over the houses and beyond. The cottager took his axe one morning when the snow seemed to have settled a little bit, and went into the forest to try and cut some wood to keep himself warm. In front of him he saw a beautiful linden tree, which presented itself to his sight, and so he took his axe above his shoulders and he struck it with his axe, ready to cut it down. But the linden tree, that beautiful, magical linden tree, addressed him in a human speech, as it was enchanted. "I'll give you all you want. If you have no riches, if you have no wife, I will give you all. Don't cut me down." "Very good, mother," said the peasant. "If you make me richer than any of the other peasants, I will leave you. But I have no horse, I have no cow, and my cottage is wretched." "Go home," said the linden tree, "and all shall be yours." The peasant went. A new house was his, large, made of stone and straw. Beautiful strong fences stood upright, guarding the cottage. He had horses, stallions that were ready to fly like the wind, and storerooms full of corn. He had more than he had ever dreamed of all his life. Enough to live on, enough to eat, so his belly would always be full. What joy there was! What a gift! He went inside his house and saw his wife. He was bewildered at her good luck. She inquired what had happened. She was a clever woman. She knew you don't get something for nothing. The cottager looked at her, though, looked her up and down, that wife of his they had spent so many years together. A beautiful life. Poor, yes, but moments of magic. Extraordinary moments of magic in ordinary moments. He looked at her and did not say a word. He turned on his heels and went back to visit the lime tree. He was not satisfied. His wife was not handsomer. They were a good match, mind you. His looks matched hers. His wits were lacking sometimes, but she pretended to make him feel good. A match they were. Happy as could be in the life of hardship. A good companionship. And yet he was not satisfied that his wife was not handsomer. He took his axe. He struck the linden tree with his axe. "What do you want?" said the linden tree. "Mother lime tree, Mother Lipa, among mankind there are wives and wives, but mine is such a disagreeable one. Do me a service. Give me a handsome wife." The Lipa said, "Go home." And the peasant went. His wife came to greet him, such beauty, krew i mleko, blood and milk, and storerooms full of everything good, nuts and fruit, dried meats and wine. Well, the cottager began to live quite comfortably with his new wife. What happened to his old wife? Well, the story doesn't say. Well, the cottager thought, it's a fine thing for us to live possessed of riches, but we're under such authority. Is it impossible for me to be the superior authority myself? He thought it over with his wife, for as beautiful she was clever too. He went again to the enchanted lime tree. He went into that wood and struck it with his axe once again. "What do you want, peasant?" "What indeed, Mother Lipa? It's a fine thing for us to live in possession of riches, but we're under superior authority. Is it impossible for me to be the head borough myself? Very well. Go home. All shall be yours. No sooner had the cottager got home when a letter came for him. The cottager was to be head borough. There was rejoicing. Time passed, and he got used to living as the head borough, and he thought to himself, it's a nice thing to be the head borough, but all is under control of the lord of the manor. Is it impossible for me to be the lord of the manor? He considered the matter with his wife, and they consulted together. He went off again to the lime tree. He went up to it, struck its bark with his axe once again. The tree asked him, "What do you want?" "Thank you, mother, for all, really, thank you, but I wish to become the Lord Mayor, the Lord of the Manor myself." "What is to be done with you?" said the Lipa. "Go home and all shall be yours." He had barely got home when up drove the Lord Lieutenant and brought him a letter from the king, the Tsar, that he was to be a gentleman. Being a gentleman had many advantages. He began to give entertainments and banquets. He began to live in such riches, entertain in such manner, eat such dishes, feasting and dancing. He had only ever heard stories about the way he lived. Time passed. He got used to his new life. "Oh, it's a fine thing to be a gentleman," he said, "but it is without an official position. Would it be impossible for me to become an official?" He went off to that beautiful lime tree and again struck its beautiful bark with a sharp axe. "What do you want, peasant?" "I thank you, Mother Lipa, for all, but is it impossible for me to become an official?" "Well, then go home." No sooner had he gone home when the royal letter arrived. He was invested with orders. Life was good, the best he had ever had. There was more arguments and more politics and more this and that, but he had more gold than he ever thought possible. More power. But with power and gold only came greed. Only a few weeks had passed this time, and he thought again, "Oh, it is a fine thing to be decorated, but all is under the control of the Lord Lieutenant. Is it impossible for me to become Lord Lieutenant?" He again talked it over, and he went off to the wood with the beautiful enchanted tree. He came to the Lipa and struck it with his axe once again. "What do you want, peasant? With what are you discontented?" "I thank you, mother, for everything, but is it impossible for me to be Lord Lieutenant myself and to have rich patrimony?" "It is difficult to effect this," said the mother tree. "But what is it to be done with you and your greed? Go home." The cottager had scarcely got home when the letter arrived. He was to be Lord Lieutenant and was presented with an estate of inheritance. He became used to living as Lord Lieutenant. Indeed, by descent, he was not a peasant any longer. "It is fine for me to live as a Lord Lieutenant, but all is under control of the Tsar, the king." He considered. He thought. He didn't sleep that night. He thought. The power, the money just danced in front of his eyes and danced and danced and gripped his thought and gripped all of his being and did not let him go. He went into the wood. He went to that enchanted tree. He struck it with his axe. "What do you want?" "All is excellent. I thank you all, but Is it impossible for me to be king myself? The linden tree began to try and persuade him. Foolish man, what are you asking? Consider what you were and what you have become. From a poor cottager with nothing in your belly, nothing but a broken roof and some tattered clothes, you became a headborough, then the lord of the manor, a lord lieutenant, a man of high rank. You have a beautiful, kind and wise wife, food to feed your bellies for 10 winters, but you wish to be a Tsar. The emperor is chosen by God. The lime tree endeavoured to persuade him with all manner of arguments that he had better not make this request, but all was in vain. Nothing could convince him. He would not budge. His stubbornness, his greed had long roots, and so he insisted that he should be emperor. The lime tree said to him, "It is impossible to effect this, and it will not be done. You will lose too what you have already obtained." But the cottager insisted, "I want to be Tsar. Make me Tsar." The lime tree finally said, "Become a bear, and your wife a she-bear." And he became a bear, and his wife a she-bear. And they went off as 2 bears, where they spend the rest of their lives living in those woods, hunting for their own food. A hard life. Those cold winters, where the wind lashed against their fur and bones, and bare paws upon the snow. And there the 2 bears, they walked the forest, the faint memory of a different life sometime, somewhere. Thank you for joining me in the Story Apothecary. If you enjoy this podcast and the stories I tell, you can support me financially via a monthly subscription on Patreon at www.patreon.com/Nanatomova. A lovely cautionary story, a tale about not wishing beyond. Be thankful for what you have and not wishing for everything, for you just might lose it all. It's a good story for times of greed, when the few are rich and the many are poor, when the minority of the world own the majority of the wealth of the land. A reverence for trees and for nature, and how they can give life and wealth, but if not respected, they can surely take that away very quickly. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you've enjoyed listening to it as much as I enjoyed telling it to you. May you have a good week and a good month. full of wonder and tree magic, and gratefulness for a full belly and a roof over your head, and gratefulness for all the things that you already have. Until next time. The music on this podcast is by Feathers. Thank you for joining me in the Story Apothecary for healing and medicinal stories. I hope we'll meet again. Until next time.